we're on page 136. So we learned in yesterday's shir about the kisei, the chair that the Yishuv Shanamis mentioned should be made for the holy person that passes by, and was setting up a room for him. So we spoke about the chair, the third of the four items that the Zohar HaKadosh says are relevant and important to make a tikkun, to be metake in the Shechina, that's in Golus. And the Rebbe said the chair refers to Shema. Literally, without Chassidus, you can also understand it, because when you say Shema, you're supposed to be sitting, kisei. But Chassidus, and as the Rebbe here culls from his ancestors and puts it into his language, says that this refers to making a keli, making a vessel, so that the nefesh habamis should relate ultimately to what the nefesh alikis is teaching it. And the way to do it is through the intermediary, which is called the nefesh hasichlis, or in his language, the seichel anushi, the human intelligent soul, the human intelligence, which there is where free will is, as I elaborated upon yesterday. So through that, you make it possible for the animal, for the indulgence to calm itself and tame itself. The Rebbe said that this is also the meaning of Shema Yisrael. Shema means not just to listen, but to gather. You need to gather together your faculties. You see, when we daven in the morning, whatever we daven, especially in the morning, our faculties are all over the place. Why? We just got up and we're going to work, so you don't know. Do you have your pants on? Do you have your pants off? You're the ganzen vermischt. And then you go to shul, and someone davens fast and someone davens slow. This morning, one person wanted the door open, and the other guy's banging the door, and the guys inside are going crazy. You let the cold air in. It's 19 degrees outside, so therefore the door has to be locked. And I'm sitting right next to the door, and I like air. What do? We got chaos. Baruch Hashem, we have a good group of guys at the Vasikin Minyan, so we usually stay together. But the point is, there is like mishigas and chaos. So there's a nefesh abam. It says nefesh alikis. Nefesh alikis one says, I don't care. I want to just be under my talus, and I want to focus on daven. Ashley Yeshua Secha, Hallelujah, Shema Yisrael. Leave me alone with all this stuff. Later in the day, I have time to be nervous and anxious and worried and make money and lose money and hear about this issue and all of that. I have plenty of time during the day, but give me this 1/2 hour of peace. You know, Rashi says with Yosef, Bikish Yaakov Leshev B'Shalvuk. Yaakov wanted to sit finally in peace. I've told you, Yaakov is the Yidaleh. Yaakov wants to sit quiet, unassuming. Leave me alone. Let me just live. Hashem says, no way, Yankel. If you came to this world, this is not a world of peace. This is a world of chaos. You have to turn the chaos into the peace. So Rashi says, Hashem throws the wrath of Yosef onto Yaakov to make him move. Get off your loins. The Rebbe always repeated, Yoni, a gewaldige Zach about the Frierdiker Rebbe. Tomorrow's the yard site, tomorrow, so we might as well say a story. And a story of Vart. He said, my father-in-law, my shver, was always a Baal Chayiv. You hear that? He always was in debt. We always want to be settled, have money in the bank, and be peaceful. And the Rebbe said, my father-in-law saw that as a virtue, as a maila. Not as a chsaron, not as a deficiency. Why not? Because if you have a debt, you got to get up and raise the money to clear the debt. If you have the money in the bank and everything is going smooth and dandy, no, you're not compelled to act. So when you're compelled to act and to move around to pay off your debts, meanwhile, how does the Rebbe suggest paying off our debts? We're making greater debts. Because the debts are for the purpose of Torah. So this Lubavitcher in Crown Heights who didn't have much, and he goes to the Rebbe and he says, I have an opportunity to buy a building, I think in Manhattan on B Street over there in the Lower East Side. And he shows the Rebbe a small house or building, and the Rebbe says, why small? Why not big? Well, the same person today owns the buildings on Ebbets Field in Brooklyn, in Crown Heights, on Bedford Avenue, where the Brooklyn Dodgers used to play before they moved to Los Angeles. So if next time you're in Crown Heights, you pass by, you'll see large buildings, built, mamish, like 30, 40, right? Well, a Lubavitcher owns those buildings, Baruch Hashem. And that came because the Rebbe told him, when he said, I have a little money and I have an opportunity to buy a little, and the Rebbe said, no, why not big? So he went and found another building that was bigger and he bought it. And today, Baruch Hashem, B'li Ein Hara, is a very wealthy man and a Baal Tzedakah. In other words, what was the Rebbe telling him? You want to be satisfied with something little because you can afford that. I'm telling you to buy something big that you can't afford right now, but Hashem will help you. Now, I'm not saying that the Rebbe told everyone to go into debt to buy a house or buy a building. I didn't say that. But for example, to my father, to others, but my father told me that, he had this response from the Rebbe. The Rebbe told him to buy a 2-family house, so they can have an apartment, a house, an apartment for himself, and then have an income from the second unit. And that was a shita of the Rebbe in the 1960s for people like my father who were, this was Lubavitch in its growth, and they were building a family, and it was a whole, they weren't from Lubavitch background, they weren't Russians. My father was a Romanian, this one was a Polish, this one's a Hungarian, they're coming into Chabad. And not only them, even the real Chabadics, they're the ones from Russia. The Rebbe had this thing of buying a 2-family house. In Brooklyn, we have 2-family houses. Because he wants you to have an income. So he gave you an intelligent way of being able to make the point, but going back to our point, that the idea of the struggle, and this is really what it says in chapter 27 in Tanya, the struggle should be embraced. Don't reject struggle. Hug it. Embrace it. Because it's for our benefit. As it says in Hayom Yoim, love criticism, for it puts you on a higher and special plateau. Look forward to someone who's genuine to criticize you. To criticize, because he's doing it for your benefit so you'll grow. So why am I saying all this? Because when we say Shema, we're sitting down. We're now able to sit and think with our talis over our head, our eyes covered, or just quiet. And at that time, we reflect on Shema, again, from the meaning gather. That's what I was telling you. Shema doesn't only mean listen, it means gather yourself together. Gather the disparate parts in your being and bring them together. Shema, Yisrael is Yasar Kael. Kael refers to the midas of the Nefesh Elokis. In this mimer, that's the way he explains it. And you have to make it Yashar. Now he's going to the word Yashar with a shin. Yashar with a shin means proper, right, one. You have to make for multiplicity oneness, unity. And this is a job. This is an avodah. We all know one of the biggest mitzvahs, so we say it in Eilu Dvarim, is Sholom Bayis. Havo Sholom bein ish li'ishtoi. When you bring peace between husband and wife, you guarantee a box seat in Gan Eden. And those that have a talent in that area should really do it, because you mamish will keep Yiddish families together. And here I want to, for a moment, divert and say, because, my shiurim are heard by many people who are not, in the class, but online. So it's important to share messages for the larger Jewish world. And that is that it's better to be in a marriage that maybe, according to you or your wife, isn't rosy and dozy, than given, I'm making a general statement, so don't, given that there's no abuse, on and on and on, then breaking it up. I've seen, and I imagine you've seen, people break up many times and they're so miserable and they end their life in misery, in loneliness. Okay, your marriage wasn't the greatest, right? That's a fact. I'm not going to dispute that could be the case. But first of all, if you're a believer, and especially if you got a bracha from a Rebbe, or even if you didn't, you believe that God sanctified your marriage through the rabbi officiating and making a bracha with Hashem's name, that's from heaven. You understand? Who says you're going to be happier on the other side? It's not necessarily true. Could it be? Of course it could be. And the Arizal, by the way, already talks about that. Second marriages, second souls, but I don't want to discuss that now. It's a very delicate subject. I'm not prepared to talk about it. But the idea that it's greener on the grass is greener on the other side, it is not greener on the other side. Okay? Yeah, so sometimes the machlokes, the screaming and the arguing and everything else dissipates, but that comes with a price. The Rebbe's Shita, if we just listen to the Rebbe, follow the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he spoke, and I documented in my book, Rebbe's Advice, on every type of issue you want to ask and think about, he had some advice. From schizophrenia, to pictures, to intimacy, to having children, to investing in stocks versus real estate. It's all there. I'm telling you. Because I translated the letters. I know it's all there. So what's the Rebbe's advice? The Rebbe told people who didn't have a harmonious marriage, wait for your children to grow up before you divorce. And I know people who did that. I know them. Not that the Rebbe told them to divorce, but if they, with their free will, came to this determination, the Rebbe respects that. I know a case, I was involved in this case. Someone who he and his wife were having a lot of discord, and his wife wanted to teach him a lesson, so she decided not to go to the mikveh. So he comes to me, he says, I can't anymore. I have to, it's not, this is evil. Rabbi, do you give me the go-ahead to divorce? I say, I was a much younger rabbi at the time. This is 35 years ago. I said, I'm not prepared to give you a green light. So, do what what should I tell you? Write to the Rebbe. So he listened. The lucky thing is he listened to me. He wrote to the Rebbe, and within hours, the Rebbe answered. The Rebbe said, quoted the Chazal, what Chazal say, how great Sholom Bayis is, how great keeping a marriage together is. And I will mention you at my father-in-law's gravesite, the Ohel, which basically means the Rebbe said to him, stay put. The next miracle is he listened to the Rebbe. And today he's happily married with grandchildren. Yeah, she didn't go to the mikvah because she was getting back at you, but you were doing some jerky stuff to her that really upset her, and she didn't want to go to the mikvah for you. It's a two-way street. And the Rebbe could have easily said, it's 3-6 months. I said, what I told him, I didn't tell you. I told him, let's give it another 3 months. So 3 months and 3 months and 6 months, and it's still the same situation. He says, Rabbi, now grant me, give me, let me, do you bless me to get divorced? So there's no, in a way there's no rules, in a way there is rules, My point is, we're learning here about the making of multiplicity oneness. The greatest thing is to bring people together. In business, disputes, in marriage, teenagers with their parents, adults with their parents. If a person has the ability to sit down with people, this is such a great mitzvah. They tell a story, I don't know the details, I don't know if there are details, where once the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin disappeared, no one knew, and they found them on Eastern Parkway, blocks away. This is probably the 50s or 60s, 50s, and they were in someone's house. They heard that there was discord, and it was online, I think, Moshe. And the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin went themselves there to try to bring shalom between people. Yes, Moshe.
Rabbi Dolphin, quick question for you. Based on what you've been sharing, in your opinion, do you feel that most marriages, not all, but most marriages can be not just saved, but turned around for the good if both husband and wife are willing to roll up their sleeves and really, really do the work to improve?
That for sure, I believe. I'm even saying more. Even if either doesn't want to roll up their sleeves, as a general statement, it's better to stay together than to break up. Again, if there's abuse, if there's screaming and hollering and hitting and total nuts, it's another. Right. But in other words, if it's just kind of between, and it's never just, it always impacts the kids. But there is the normal disagreements and discord, and then there is cuckoo ones. I just want to tell you, I think I've told you, in Holocaust homes, post-Holocaust homes, there's a lot of tension. I don't think any of you are from those homes. And there's a lot of stress. Today it's less because, we're towards the end of that era. But this was common, and the pressures and the scars, it made, like in communities like ours here, Borough Parks, Williamsburg, even Flatbush, it was a very big reality, And what I heard from my grandmother, who was a Polish woman and a survivor, like, she would always, she would quote it, I think, from the Gemara. I'm not sure if it's in the Gemara, but it's somewhere. If she would say, if the word divorce is mentioned in this house, God rises from his chair. And she said it with a way of like scaring everyone. Don't you ever mention. But meanwhile, there's bickering and there's this and there's that. That's normal. That's normal. There's a whole. You understand that that generation and culture. It was a whole different way of looking at things. Now, in America and Israel today, in today's free world, and it's not that way. But I'm an American, but I'm very much European because of my influence of my parents and grandparents and my culture. I see in many Americans that didn't grow up with the European culture impact, there is this, kind of, formal attitude like, yeah, if it doesn't work, we'll go on, we'll find someone else, we won't, there isn't it's like not in your blood. Like, the way I was raised and my friends and my culture is like, it's in your blood. You marry, that's it. For good, bad, or the ugly, that's it. It's from heaven. You have to go through what you have to go through. Avram, are you following this? Are you familiar at all with what I'm saying? Is this a new thinking for you? New ideas?
No, I've been married 33 years, Rabbi Dalton.
Beautiful. No, I understand. But
I know, but I've been through these different phases of relationships.
Right. But what
stayed in it, and worked through it all.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, so it just hit me when the Rebbe speaks in this mimer about making of multiplicity of two, right? He speaks about making Yashar. Yisrael is Yud Yashar Kale. Making things that are disparate and separate, making it Yashar, making it proper and one. So this just fell into, the importance of Sholom Bayis, of bringing people together. I know, Moshe, you're Gabba in shul, and you are exposed to all kinds of things. So I'm just saying that, whether it's you or someone else who has a talent in this area, it's a tremendous chus, and it's hard work, and it's like, again, I gotta, but that's right. People have all their life till 120. If they had a talent in bringing people together, they did it. And it took away time from their family, it took away time from their job, and there was a headache, but you can't imagine the great schus of doing such a thing. So in the mimer, the Rebbe talks about it, bringing from making two to one. I was recently in Florida by my son, and two sisters had a yard site for their mother, had a shloshim, I think, for their mother, or it was the first year, I forget. They gave, after Myra, milled wheat, they gave us a suda. And the rabbi, the Chabad rabbi, mentions that. And then one of the sisters starts speaking, and it was all, we didn't know them, she didn't know us, and she says, for years, my sister and I didn't speak, and the sister's standing there. We didn't get along. And it ate up my mother. And her mother died not knowing that the death brought them together. They were standing together, and they made up to live in peace. Now, I'm asking you, I was thinking about it sitting there. It's wonderful on one hand. On the other hand, it's very sad. You need death. Death should bring you together. Why? Why couldn't you make up before? So your mother could witness, as she's dying, her two daughters together. Or maybe she saw them the last few weeks or months together. But the point is, most of the life, she was so upset that her two daughters don't get along and don't talk to each other. So it's important to know this, and especially when it comes to wills and estates and parents leaving over Yerushas, the fights. It's all I can tell you, my friends, when you make your will, make it clear and do it in a way where everyone knows ahead of time what you're doing, and you call the shots. Don't leave it up to your kids. That's what I can tell you, because the best of the best have different ways of doing things and understanding, and one's upset and one's not upset. But if you set the rules and it's in writing, that's it. That's like Moshe and I spoke about the what's the Rebbe, the son of the Rabbi, your Rabbi, his son is married to the family of the Rebbe in Sadigur.
Sadigur, yeah.
Sadigur. The fact that the previous Rebbe of Sadigur left clear instruction that he wants his youngest son to be a Rebbe, dispute it or not, like it or not, that's what he said. Now it's up to the people to listen, not to listen. But he made himself clear. So now everyone has to be honest themselves and say, do I want to listen to my Rebbe who I was his chassid. And you see, this is where it becomes very tricky. Do I listen or do I say, Rebbe, you made a mistake? You miscalculated, and you thought your youngest son is the one that should be, because maybe he's less political, maybe he has the future ahead of him, whatever. These are issues to making from multiplicity, achdus is the greatest thing. Let's learn some chassidus insight, because when we could keep on bringing here, we have to learn some chassidus insight. Page 136. V'hinei, now he goes to the fourth item that she made. Menorah, she made a candelabra for him. Says the Rebbe in the name of the Zohar HaKadosh, he Shmon Esrei, this is referring to the Amida, the Shmon Esrei. The Shmon Esrei hu tzloisa dem umet. Chazal call Shmon Esrei the standing prayer, the Amida. That's why it's called Amida, to stand. The Krishma, it's tzloisa dem Yushav. Krishma is called the prayer of sitting. Shmon Esrei tzloisa dem umet is the Shmon Esrei is the standing prayer. So the Rebbe now explains the Hinei Krishma, he's burning those belikus ba'asoga the bina. Krishma is the meditation, reflection of godliness in a comprehensible way, which is known as bina. The zehu shma, this is the idea of shma. Now, here he translates Shema, another translation Shema, Shu Asoga Vavona. Listen with mind, with analysis, with comprehension. And here he quotes the verse, Daber, speak, Ki Shomeya Avdecha, for your servant understands, listens in the sense of understand. So go ahead, speak, I understand what you're talking about. V'hainu ha'asoge v'havona b'gdulas v'reimu will say self baruch hu, the comprehension of God's exaltedness of the infinite God. And because one understands the godliness that one reflects upon, this impacts the heart. That the heart becomes mispoiled, impacted, excited emotionally with love and fear for God. However, all emotionalism is excitability, murgish, like Yonason said the other day. So Avram, during Shema, when you're using your seichel to understand godliness, it's not just saying words. No, when you say Avram in the morning, Shabbat Shema, you have to stop and think, not just the translation of the words, but the ideas that we've been learning here. The meditation, the reflection and understanding. Shema is Shem Ayin, Shema means this, Shema means that, Yisrael means this, and how you put it together. That's a meditation with understanding. Abel Shmoin Esrei, but Shmoin Esrei, who tzleisha de me'umat is the standing prayer. Shubchinas habitul b'metzias. Your entity, your existence, your metziut is batul, is subservient, is humble, is totally annulled. Here, Moshe is not the place, Shmon Esrei, to be in the reflection mood, in the meditative mood. Here it's to be in the experiential mode. In the experiential mode, Yonason, of allowing yourself to be uplifted through prayer for whatever you're davening for in the Shemon Esrei. As it says, and after the and after the fire, there was a silent sound. The Eish, next page, 137, Eish refers to a burning desire, the Krishma, when we daven Shema, Shemispoil bi'ava, you're impacted with love, bislavas halev v'rash, your heart's on fire. You're storming. I want God. God is so delicious. I understand him. I love him. I want him. You're all worked up. Very nice. But because you're in a sitting position and in a sitting mindset, that means that your mitziyut, your being and existence, is still associated with yeshus of ego. It's a very refined ego, a humbled ego, but it's still ego. There's still an I who wants. You hear that? There's an I that wants God. That's why you're all charged up and noisy. You see, when are you noisy and charged up? When it's not you, right? When we breathe in the morning, do we get all excited, dancing and laughing? No, it's natural, because that's who we are, breathing. But imagine if you can't, God forbid, breathe well, and you put on a breathing machine and things like that, boy, are you excited. And I can tell you that from people who've had, sleep apnea and things like that, and they need oxygen, and in other words, it's not natural for them to have that, and then yet they have it. They get all excited and worked up, and they see that it's the best thing since the creation of mayonnaise and Wonder Bread, right? So, look at the Rebbe's words. I love these words. If one's entire existence, Moshe, which the Rebbe calls a yeshusai, his ego, would be misbatel, would be nullified, he wouldn't make noise. For example, take a log of fire that's burnt through fire. As long as the fire hasn't burnt through and through the log, the log is bustling and making noise from the fire that's going into every part of the log. But when the physical material log has been totally consumed and burnt, but if you put your finger in, you get burnt. And if you stick in, you'll see a spark come out. Says the Rebbe, and when the primary heat of the log is not when it's still catching on fire and crackling and making noise, but rather after it's consumed and from the outside it looks like there's no fire there, you touch it, you're really going to burn yourself. How do you like that, Mashal? I love it. The Rebbe says so too also. When we have this burning fire for God during Shema, you yet have not annulled your entire being to God. You still have some ego there. And the ava, the love during Krishma for God, is in an excitable and passionate way. But so it's not you. So the yes still exists. Shemon Esrei is a silent sound. You need to daven silently, meaning articulate the words, but quietly. Because that represents, Moshe, 1 second, that represents complete nullification of self. Yes, Moshe.
Rabbi Delphin, in our previous learning, didn't we discuss that Krishma is connected or representative of, there's an element of like Tohu, and Shemon Esrei is Tikkun? Does that ring a bell? Am I right on that?
Tohu?
Or maybe not, excuse me, maybe I mean Pesukah Zimra. I feel like we touched on this. Okay, I don't want to take us off.
Anyway, if you could find that, send me a message, and I'll look into it. Okay, we'll stop him, Shem. Tomorrow we're going to have a Farbrengen for Yud Shvat and Yud Hashem. Meanwhile, make sure to light a candle tonight, learn Mishnayos, speak to your family about the Frierdiker Rebbe, what he did. There's many sichos, many videos, many clips. And the Rebbe should help. We should have Mashiach right away. The Rebbe should be back with us. all the tzaddikim, and we'll have everyone in mind at the Ohel Mitzvah Hashem. If you have a special request or any request, you could WhatsApp me, and B'li Neder, when I get to the Ohel, we'll have it in mind. Sei gesund. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care, Moshe.